Shalom, first and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Rokakadash. I want to give double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who were well and teach all sound doctrine, and peace and blessings to your elect. Now, this is me just kind of making a note of this video that I seen, and this is basically cost of living, which is things like food prices, rent, and general stuff like that. I believe it's energy will come under that, like how you would have to pay electric, for your house or for a store that you may have, and gas for you may have a gas cooker, or you need gas to actually use hot water. So there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can look at that. But maybe I'll just play a little bit of the video because I'm not really seeing it.
It was ordered about 210 before Christmas. Invasion of Ukraine, it's gone from 220 to 320. So that's been the biggest impact for us. But on top of that, you can see us behind, flour bags, all made of paper, 50% increase. We've had fuel, 35% increase. And then all of that is...
So you can already hear him. He's putting out big numbers, 50% increase. And I believe he said 45% increase on something else. And just to put that into perspective, so you understand what it means, so you understand what it means. That's a 50% increase on top of 100%, because the 100% is what it already is, and then the 50% increase is on top of that 100%. The same thing with the 45%, because you always gotta remember, like when you have an increase, it's not like you may have decimal 0.25. A 25% increase is not, as a decimal, is not 0.25, it's 1.25, because you gotta remember it's 25% on top of that number that is there already, which is, for example, would be 100. That previous number would be 100%, and then the new number, which is the increase, is whatever it's increased by. And this is all through these legislation and whatnot that these devils put in, man. Because these guys have gotten, listen, because people go on about, oh, you conspiracy theorists this, you conspiracy theorists that. But here is these guys living, these big castles and whatnot, own many places. Listen, if these guys were to, to sort this out, if they were genuinely, as cool as you people thought, what does this guy care about me? I'm just a nobody. You don't want to do this to me. Don't Jake be simple as hell? Don't you see that this is an agenda that they have? Because their desire is for a whole nation to go off. It's kind of like it's kind of like they do stuff, and then they say to the Lord, hey, look, these are your people. Look at the wickedness that your people are doing. We can be your people, man. Esau sold his birthright, and he's like, he wants it, and he wants it back. And our people, they have it, and they don't value it. So like, yeah. This is Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. Just like how the earth is gonna rejoice, like when Israel starting with the elect, the 1/3 and the rest of 144,000, the 1/3, the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. On top of course, you're gonna have the Most High, Yahweh and Yahushua as well. So it's gonna be just beautiful, man. It's gonna be pushing out nothing but righteousness, because this world promotes nothing but wickedness. For like gangbangers and whatnot, they're uplifted in this society, and us brothers and sisters that want to uphold the truth, want to live righteously. Oh, these guys are weirdos. Oh, these guys are living boring. Oh, these guys are this. Oh, these guys are that. We're looked at negatively, but you're glorifying a hoodlum, as you would call it, over us, because you say, oh, this guy's got money, he's exciting. But hey, let's see how far that gets you in Jacob's trouble. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. And that's evident because when you had the situation that was going over there in London, when it came to, I believe it was to do with the rent, but or if it wasn't to do with the rent, it was something to do with the housing prices, I believe. I had people protesting. And why is that going on? Because they have more people. I believe they have more people than they can accommodate, or something like that. So since they got high demand of things that are not as well, they're there, but that may not be as much. They may be a little bit more scarce than their demand. They can fluctuate the prices up. So what does this lead to? People may not be able to afford housing, which leads to them protesting and getting annoyed and whatnot. But in the king, all kinds of things. But in the kingdom, even after these other nations serve their sentence, like not Esau, because Esau gonna be done, man, after 1,000 years. Everything gonna be good. Everyone gonna be good. It's gonna be complete righteous order. Of course, we're gonna go. We may go over to I don't know if the word inspect the other nations is correct, but I'll just use it. You brothers will know what I'm talking about. The other nations, because of course we're gonna have to show them the way, so to speak. We're gonna have to show them to be righteous, because we're gonna be perfect, because we're gonna have those new bodies. But of course they are not. They're gonna have to learn from us. But yeah, this is the only precept I had. I just gotta close out here. I pray this is edifying. In fact, hold on. Let me see if there's anything more in this video.
Is having to be passed on to the end customer, a baker in this case.
The end customer, though, isn't just having to pay more for flour, but everything else they buy too. Inflation is now its highest since 1982, hitting 9.1%. And driving that rise, the essentials. Food went up by 8.7% over the year to May. Road fuel prices.
And it may not just be more expensive for customers to buy. It may be more expensive for them to get as well, because of situations that happened in, 2019 till now, which, you already know what I'm talking about. The end of 2019 till now, but you already know what I'm talking about. But I'm trying to be smart not to get that strike on this. So they're like, okay, we may not be able to get as much food as we're supposed to have. So that could ultimately lead to, what can that lead to? Food shortages, man. And it's funny how, like I always say, one prophecy is leading to another prophecy, almost like a domino effect, man.
Are 32.8% higher than just 12 months ago. High costs, which economists say haven't even peaked yet, and pain, which isn't been spread evenly. The Bank of England expects that inflation will exceed 11% in October. But the poorest households are already experiencing double-digit inflation, according to the Resolution Foundation. They spend more of their incomes on the essentials, so an increase in food and fuel will have a much bigger impact. So the wealthy...
You have people that are already feeling it. Because obviously, if you are living just above water, when there's an inflation, that could be more than what you can take, man.
Households right now are experiencing inflation of just over 8.5%. The poorest are experiencing inflation of just under 10.5%. And that's now in shorts and sandals weather, let alone before energy prices go up yet again in October.
Yeah, see, these guys, the elites, they're trying to, do order of chaos. They come with they cause a problem so that they can come with a solution, man. They know that they're at the end of their kingdom. That's why, they know they're at the end of this kingdom. At the end of their kingdom, they can see all this happening. They're like, these guys really think they can offset the prophecies, man. But hey, what's written is gonna come to pass, and there ain't nothing they can do about it, man.
I'm very concerned about this winter, because I know.
And like it says in 2nd Ezra, but let me get it. Couldn't remember off the top of my head. And due to like countries not being able to get as much food as they usually would, based on sanctions, maybe based on them not being able to export as much food as they usually would. Because you gotta take into account, okay, they could get this food, but if there is a blackout or if there is something wrong, because you just mentioned inflation, so yeah, they could get the food, but if there's an issue with the food getting into storage because they may not be able to pay electric, for example, or gas, for example, or just something to that effect, then you may have some of the food that may get spoiled anyway. So even if they could get all the food, to a country, it doesn't, it don't. What are they gonna do if the power, for example, in the event of a blackout? Because like I explained to your brother, a blackout is not just lights. A blackout is power. It's all electric, which includes the fridge and the freezer, and just for as two examples, and those are things that you store food in. Depending on what it is, you can put bread in the fridge and freezer. You can put chicken in the freezer. You can put a lot. I take that back. You can put a lot of stuff in the freezer in terms of food. You could possibly put in anything in the freezer that can go in the fridge. Let me start at 16 and work my way down to 19. For there shall be sedition among men, invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, because they're going to be like, hey, we were listening to you before, but us listening to you is not exactly benefiting us, because you keep saying one thing and then doing another thing. That's where the scripture also says, you will cause their tongues to fall upon themselves, because they end up cutting themselves by these devils be up, and they be like, oh, you're not gonna need this, and then turn around and go, oh, you're gonna need this like 2 months later. No, the average person doesn't really pay attention to that, but us being spiritual, we say, hey, what was that you said 2 months ago? So people still are still trusting them, but it's like, hey, this man is evidently lied to you, and he's lied to you recently, man. Come on. Don't ever see where it goes, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, or something like that. So easy. How are you letting this guy get you with the same thing? He's not even changed it up. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their own power. A man shall desire to go in the city and shall not be able to. And that tied into when they were placing all those sanctions on different borders. Now, of course, I can't speak for other countries, but from the UK, you can travel to certain countries, without getting Vanessa, and the other thing. There's certain countries you can travel to. I seen online, and I seen on TikTok as well. I seen someone put that up on TikTok, but a while ago, but yeah. Let me just jump down to 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword. And the modern day sword is a gun, and spoil their goods because of lack of bread and for great tribulation. So when people get desperate, when people going through hardships, they do things that they wouldn't do because of desperation. When you're desperate, you do some you can do some very wild things. So you gotta take into account, someone kicks off your front door and they may have a hockey mask and a cutlass, which a cutlass is a machete, and if you don't know what a machete is, it's a large knife. So if someone kicks down your door with one of them, for example, and then says, hey, I see you bring some food into your house, and you gotta take into account there's a famine, or they say, oh, we smell some food, because you're gonna have people that may have not eaten for 4 or 5 days, And I can't remember how far away it is, but you know, when you're hungry, when you're very hungry, I believe it was an elder that said this, but I can't remember how far away it was. You know, you could smell food from, you know, a surprisingly far distance away. And you can imagine you have food, you know, in your house. You know, for example, you know, let's say a 2/3, right? You know, may have prepped or whatever, and they may have, you know, been able to make some food, and then you have someone that smelled that. You know, you may have a group of people that smelled that. Listen, they are grass, cause those guys, you know, that's Jacob's trouble is going to be a real terror, man. It's going to be a real terror, cause those people are going to kick down that front door. Listen, it's going to be beyond, you know, our imagination, really. And really, the fact that I would say the fact that they've even be in the house, you know, making something, you know, that would show that, you know, it would be a little bit before. But yo, those times are gonna get serious, and you can even see it. But I'll put this in the description because I wasn't really gonna go into all of it. You know, maybe one of you other brothers may want to go into this, but in closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shemi Al Shai Bashim Kakadash. Until next time, Shalom.